Beneath the waters of the West Philippine Sea lies one of the most powerful forces on Earth, a geological frontier capable of shaping entire nations. Scientists say it's not a matter of if it moves again, but when. And when it does, Asia may never look the same. But what exactly is hiding down there? And why does it hold so much power over the entire future of this region? The Philippines sits right on the edge of the Pacific Ring of Fire, a massive horseshoe shaped zone wrapping around the Pacific Ocean from Japan and Indonesia to Chile and Alaska. It's home to 75% of the world's volcanoes and almost 90% of its major earthquakes. If you've ever wondered why Japan shakes so often and why Indonesia has so many eruptions, the answer lies in this invisible ring of colliding tectonic plates. And right in its center is the Philippine Sea plate, grinding slowly against the Eurasian plate. Where these two meet, trenches form, long scars in the Earth's crust. One of the most dangerous of these is the Manila Trench, stretching over 1,000 kilometers along the western coast of the Philippines. Now, here is the part that keeps scientists awake at night. If the Manila Trench ruptures, here's what happens. Imagine the seabed suddenly shifting by several meters in just a few seconds. That movement would release energy equal to tens of thousands of atomic bombs. A massive earthquake could tear through the region, shaking cities like Manila, Subic, and even parts of Taiwan. And worse, it could trigger a tsunami that races across the South China Sea at the speed of a jet. But here's a question. How far would those waves reach? Simulations suggest that if the Manila Trench experienced a magnitude 9 earthquake similar to the 2011 Japan disaster, waves could hit the western Philippines in minutes and crash into Vietnam, China, and Malaysia within hours. Coastal cities, ports, and entire economies could be paralyzed overnight. This is not just a theory. The Earth has given us warnings before, loud, devastating, and unforgettable warnings. In July 1990, the island of Luzon shook violently. A 7.7 magnitude earthquake ripped through central and northern Luzon, one of the deadliest in Philippine history. In just under a minute, entire buildings crumbled in Baguio City. Hotels collapsed like stacks of cards, and highways twisted open. Electricity failed, bridges snapped, and communication lines went silent. And by the time the shaking stopped, over 1,600 lives were gone, and tens of thousands were injured or displaced. And that's the terrifying part. This wasn't even near the Manila Trench. It happened deep inland, caused by movement along the Philippine Fault System. Now imagine something even stronger, deeper underwater, where entire walls of the earth collide. That's the kind of force the Manila Trench is capable of releasing. History shows what that means. In December 2004, just after dawn, the ocean floor near Sumatra, Indonesia, ruptured. It was one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded, magnitude 9.1. The seafloor lifted by more than 10 meters, displacing billions of tons of water in an instant. Within minutes, an enormous tsunami raced outward at jetliner speed, nearly 800 kilometers per hour. Entire coastlines vanished. Fishing villages were wiped off the map. Tourists in Thailand were swept away without warning. In India, Sri Lanka, and even as far as the coast of East Africa, waves arrived hours later, still tall enough to destroy entire communities. By the end, over 230,000 people across 14 countries had been killed. It was one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. Now, here's where the lesson becomes chillingly relevant. The Manila Trench is part of that same global system, the Pacific Ring of Fire, a chain of interconnected subduction zones stretching from Japan to Indonesia to the Philippines. The same kind of tectonic pressure that tore open Sumatra is building up here. beneath the West Philippine Sea. Scientists have already detected microquakes, slow slips, and rising pressure zones along the trench. These are the Earth's whispers, faint warnings that the system is alive and moving. And if history has taught us anything, it's that when subduction zones stay quiet for too long, they don't rest, they reload. So when experts say the next big one could happen near the Philippines, they're not guessing, they're remembering. But the effects would not stop at the shorelines. Think about this. The South China Sea is one of the world's busiest trade routes. Over $3 trillion worth of goods pass through it every year. If the Manila Trench ruptures, the ports of Manila, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Vietnam would all could all be disrupted. Shipping routes closed for weeks or months. Energy supplies, food imports, electronics, all delayed or cut off. The global economy would feel the shock. Factories might shut down. Prices could soar. And millions of workers from seafarers to exporters could lose their livelihoods overnight. Could Asia's fastest growing economies withstand that kind of hit? For now, the Manila Trench looks peaceful. Fishermen sail across it every day. Tourists swim in nearby islands unaware that below them, two tectonic plates are slowly pushing against each other, storing enormous energy. Geologists call this strain accumulation, the gradual buildup of stress along a fault line. It might take decades or even centuries before it snaps, but when it does, that buildup energy will be released all at once. In other words, every quiet day in the trench brings us one step closer to its next big movement. Does that mean disaster is inevitable? Not exactly, but preparedness is everything. The Philippines has learned a lot from its past. After the 1990 Luzon quake, the government strengthened building codes, trained rescue teams, and mapped out potential tsunami zones. Today, sensor monitors tremors across the archipelago. Early warning systems are being upgraded, and communities are being taught how to respond when the ground starts shaking. But the challenge is enormous. How do you prepare 110 million people for something you cannot predict? Even the most advanced systems can only give a few minutes of warning. Sometimes survival depends on instinct, knowing what to do and acting fast. The story of the Manila Trench is not just about one country, it's about the entire region: Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, and the Philippines, all connected by the same restless forces beneath the West Philippine Sea. These hidden links remind us that nature doesn't respect borders. When one plate moves, the whole system feels it. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. The same forces that shaped Asia's islands and mountains, the same ones that built its beauty, could also reshape its future in an instant. So, as we admire the calm blue waters of the South China Sea, we should remember beneath them lies a sleeping giant, silent, powerful, and inevitable. The question is not if it will wake again, the question is, when it does, will we be ready?